Chapter 41. Don't die. I beg you. Sang Yi brought ice and snow from outside the cave. He placed it on Lin Nuannuan's forehead and face, trying to cool her down. Unfortunately, it was no use. Her temperature was still high. Sang Yi transformed back into his human form and hugged her. Snakes were cold-blooded creatures to begin with. His body temperature was lower than that of an ordinary person. When Lin Nuannuan touched his skin, it was as though someone who had been thirsty for 3 days finally saw a cup of water. She quickly climbed up and hugged his body tightly, her cheek gently rubbing against his chest. It was so cool and comfortable. Sang Yi quickly reacted to her rubbing. His animal hide dress was stretched so high that it hurt. If the little female were in a healthy state now, he would definitely pounce on her without hesitation and penetrate her ruthlessly. But not now. The little female was sick. Females were all delicate. Sang Yi had seen many females who were unable to recover from their illnesses and were forced to die early when they were young. He did not want Lin Nuannuan to die. He had to let her live. Sang Yi ignored his desires and suppressed his shouts. He carefully hugged Lin Nuannuan and pressed his cold body against her, lowering her temperature. Unknowingly, Sang Yi fell asleep while hugging her. Sang Yi was woken up by a violent cough. He opened his eyes and saw that Lin Nuannuan's cheeks were abnormally red. Her body temperature was fluctuating. Her eyes were half open as she coughed hysterically. Sang Yi quickly took the ice and put it in his mouth. After the ice melted, he kissed her lips and passed the water to her. Her lips were very soft and slightly sweet. It made him want to stick his tongue into her mouth and entangle with her tongue. It was only when Lin Nuannuan was about to suffocate from the kiss that Sang Yi reluctantly let go of her. The taste of the little female was amazing. Just one taste made him want to tear her apart and devour her. Sang Yi stared at her wet lips and involuntarily licked the corners of his mouth. He really wanted her. He really wanted to tear off her hide dress and press her under him to ravage her. Cough! 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 Intense coughing interrupted his reverie again. He saw that Lin Nuannuan's cough was getting worse. She even coughed up blood. Sang Yi immediately panicked. No matter what the illness was, considering how she was bleeding, it must be very serious. Was the little female going to die? Sang Yi helped Lin Nuannuan wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth. He hugged her tightly, afraid that she would disappear in the next moment. Don't die. I beg you. Lin Nuannuan leaned into his arms and coughed until she was out of breath. She felt a burning sensation in her lungs. She guessed that she was suffering from acute pneumonia. In the past few days, she had been rolling in the snow, drinking ice water, and washing her face with ice and snow. With her weak body, it was only a matter of time before she fell sick. However, she did not expect this illness to come so suddenly. Acute pneumonia, in this era without antibiotics, this disease could kill. While Lin Nuannuan was in a daze, she was still thinking about antibiotics. As she thought about it, she suddenly thought of something else. Fragrant and crunchy fruits. The sheepskin book recorded that not only were the crunchy fruits edible, but they could also reduce inflammation and stop bleeding. If they had anti-inflammatory properties, did it mean they contained antibiotic-like ingredients? Thinking of this, Lin Nuannuan seemed to have found a chance of survival. She hurriedly took out the 2 shriveled fruits from her bag and stuffed them into her mouth. Before long, she felt the pain in her lungs lessen a little. At least she could speak now. It seemed that crunchy fruits were useful. Just 2 fruits were not enough to cure her illness. Lin Nuannuan looked at Sang Yi and begged with difficulty. Can you help me find the crunchy fruits? They can cure my illness. Sang Yi was slightly stunned when he heard her words. Fragrant and crunchy fruits can treat illnesses. Weren't those sweet and crunchy fruits specially made for females, so they could be used as medicine? Lin Nuannuan's voice was hoarse. Trust me. Hurry up and look for the crunchy fruits. Sang Yi frowned and said, Your throat must be very uncomfortable. Stop talking. Lin Nuannuan shook her head and insisted, Go find some crunchy fruits. Hurry. Okay. I'll look for them. Sang Yi didn't waste any more time. He placed the little female on the pile of hay and covered her with thick animal hide. He left a burning fire beside her. He walked out of the cave and found a huge rock to block the entrance before leaving quickly. It was midwinter, and snow covered the entire forest, not to mention crunchy fruits. Even a green leaf could be seen. But the little female had said that the crunchy fruits could save her life. He had to find the crunchy fruits. Sang Yi searched all the places where crunchy fruits might grow as quickly as possible, but he found nothing. He couldn't find any crunchy fruits in the forest, so he had to look elsewhere. Sang Yi suddenly remembered that when he was being chased, he had seen a small tribe nearby. There might be crunchy fruits in that tribe. Sang Yi immediately moved. After finding the tribe, he rushed in without a word. It was a boar tribe. There were only about 30 beasts in the entire tribe, less than a tenth of the rock wolf tribe. However, they were brave and good at fighting. Their combat power was very strong. Winter had come especially early this year. Their tribe didn't have a witch doctor who could predict weather changes like Lang Zhu, so they didn't have time to prepare enough food for winter before it came. When Sang Yi barged into the tribe, these beasts were worrying about how to save food. Sang Yi took out the crystal coins he carried with him and placed them in front of the leader of the boar tribe. Do you have any crunchy fruits here? I want as many as you have. When the boar leader saw the shiny crystal coins, his eyes lit up. If it were any other time, he would have happily asked someone to take out all the crunchy fruits in the tribe to exchange for these crystal coins. They were crystal coins after all, if they were to use the coins at the market. Just one crystal coin would be enough to buy a small mountain of crunchy fruits. But not now. There was a shortage of food in the tribe to begin with, so the food they had left was not enough for them to survive the winter. Although those crunchy fruits were not very filling, they could at least be eaten. The boar leader said apologetically, "You can exchange crystal coins for anything in our tribe except food." Sang Yi's expression darkened. "I only want crunchy fruits." "No, we refuse to exchange food." Sang Yi was annoyed when he saw that the other party refused to agree. Since the other party refused to sell the crunchy fruits, he could only forcibly snatch them. Sang Yi suddenly turned into a python, opened his bloody mouth, and swallowed the defenseless wild boar leader into his stomach. The entire boar tribe went crazy. Holy shit! The patriarch had been eaten. Chapter 42. Not worthy. Sang Yi was very powerful. In particular, his snake form was shockingly huge. The beasts of the boar tribe were like little chicks in front of him, but even the smallest chicken would bite if forced to. Furthermore, there were many of them. The anger they felt at their leader being eaten made the beasts of the boar tribe erupt with super combat strength. They swarmed forward and attacked the python desperately. They had to avenge the patriarch. The python's skin was very thick and was covered in a layer of fine scales. Even when it was bitten, it did not cause much damage to Sang Yi. Sang Yi dealt with the crazy wild boar beasts while looking for crunchy fruits. He followed the smell of the food and found the cave where the boar tribe was storing their food. He snatched all the crunchy fruits inside. After getting the crunchy fruits he wanted, Sang Yi had no intention of fighting. He immediately prepared to retreat. How could the beasts of the boar tribe let him go? They realized that ordinary attacks were not very effective against pythons. One of the more intelligent male beasts suddenly shouted, "Use fire! Snakes are afraid of fire." All beasts were afraid of fire, but snake beasts were most afraid of fire. This might be due to their nature as cold-blooded animals. A portion of the wild boar beasts immediately went to look for flint and dry wood. The remaining beasts desperately stopped Sang Yi and refused to let him leave the wild boar tribe. Sang Yi smelled danger. He couldn't help but feel a little irritable and uneasy. His huge snake tail swept over, sending all the wild boar beastmen in front of him flying. Screams rose. Sang Yi wanted to hurry back, but those wild boar beasts were like maggots. They pestered him desperately and refused to let him go. The other beasts finally found dry wood and flint. They threw them at Sang Yi. The scorching heat scalded the python, and the scales on its skin curled up. Sang Yi was in extreme pain. However, he still gritted his teeth and ignored the torches in the beast's hands. He rushed out of the encirclement recklessly. The huge snake burrowed into the forest and slithered quickly across the snow. The beasts of the savage tribe chased after him with torches. Wild boars were fast. But if they changed back to their original form, they wouldn't be able to hold a torch anymore. That way, even if they caught up with the python, they wouldn't be able to hurt it. Hence, they could only maintain their human form and give chase in the forest with their 2 human legs. Sangyi's body was covered in wounds from the fire. His scales rolled up, and his snake skin was charred black due to the friction from slithering on the snow. His scarlet flesh was revealed. He was in so much pain, but he had no intention of stopping to rest. All he could think about was the little female being sick. She was very sick and needed crunchy fruits to save her life. He couldn't stop. He had to get back quickly. When Sangyi finally rushed into the cave, he realized that Lin Nuannuan had fallen unconscious again. But even though she had fainted, she was still coughing. She coughed so violently that it seemed she was going to cough her lungs out. Sangyi quickly took out the crunchy fruits and said to her, "I've already brought the crunchy fruits you wanted. What should I do now?" Lin Nuannuan was dizzy from illness and could not answer him at all. Helpless, Sangyi could only chew the crunchy fruits before feeding them to her. Fortunately, she could still swallow food. Sangyi fed her all the crunchy fruits in one go. It was unknown if the fruits really worked, but Lin Nuannuan's coughing gradually calmed down. Sangyi did not dare to sleep. He stayed by her side silently, his snake eyes staring at her without blinking. After a long time, Lin Nuannuan woke up. She opened her eyes with difficulty. Her throat was still itchy, and she felt a little dizzy, but she was much better than before. "I fed you some crunchy fruits. Are you feeling better now?" Lin Nuannuan looked in the direction of the voice and saw Sangyi, who had transformed into a snake and was lying on the ground. He looked down at her, his black snake eyes filled with concern. She said gratefully, "I'm better now. Thank you." Sangyi was relieved. He glanced at the snow and ice outside the cave. Then, he suddenly said to her, "Do you want to go home?" Lin Nuannuan was slightly stunned. Huh? She didn't understand why he was suddenly asking about this. Sangyi tried his best to hide the wounds on his body and said calmly, "If you want to go home, go back quickly. It's too cold in the forest. This place isn't suitable for a delicate female like you. If you continue to stay here, you'll definitely fall sick again." Lin Nuannuan really wanted to go back, but she couldn't bear to part with this python that looked gloomy but was actually very gentle. She asked carefully, "Can you come back with me?" Sangyi was stunned. "You want me to go with you? Why? You saved me. I have to repay you." Sangyi said, "I don't need you to repay me. But, no buts. Hurry up and leave." Sangyi turned his head away from her. Facing his sudden coldness, Lin Nuannuan was at a loss. She quickly got up and walked over to him. She wanted to pet the python as usual and get closer to him. But when she approached the python, she realized that it was covered in wounds. Blood was still seeping from the burnt flesh. It was a ghastly sight. Lin Nuannuan was shocked. She quickly asked, "How did these wounds come about? What happened just now?" Sangyi said indifferently, "They're just small injuries. I won't die. But you, all right. Stop talking." Sangyi laughed at himself. "You don't like me anyway. It doesn't matter even if I'm injured. You shouldn't care too much." "Don't say that." Lin Nuannuan hugged the python's body. "We're friends. I care a lot about your safety." Sangyi interrupted her again. "I told you. I don't want to be friends with you. I just want to be your mate." Lin Nuannuan. Sangyi looked at her calmly. "I know you look down on me, and I won't ask for trouble again. Hurry up and leave. Go back to your mates and don't appear in front of me again." Hearing his cold words, Lin Nuannuan felt terrible. She couldn't resist. "I'm not looking down on you. I just don't think I'm good enough for you." Sangyi looked at her without saying anything. He obviously didn't believe her. Lin Nuannuan slowly approached the python's body. "You're a very good male beast. Not only are you powerful, but you're also good to females. In the future, you'll definitely find a female who can treat you wholeheartedly. I'm a female who already has 2 mates. I'm really not worthy of you." However, Sangyi said, "I don't need you to be single-minded. I just want to be by your side." Chapter 43. letting the tiger return to its den. Sang Yi's confession made Lin Nuannuan unable to reject him. It touched her that he got himself so badly injured to save her. She couldn't leave him. Lin Nuannuan thought for a long time before saying, "Come back with me first. We'll talk about mating after you recover, okay?" Mating was no small matter. She had to go back and ask the two at home what they thought before she made a decision. Sang Yi knew she was wavering. He was very happy, but at the same time, he was a little sad. It was too bad the timing wasn't right. In order to rush back as soon as possible, Sang Yi did not bother to clean up his tracks. The beasts of the boar tribe must have followed the tracks he left. They were probably still chasing after him. Sang Yi was seriously injured and would not recover anytime soon. He could not protect the little female now. He could only let her leave for the time being, lest she was harmed by the beasts of the boar tribe as well. Sang Yi said to her helplessly, "I'm injured and can't move for the time being, but you need food to survive. You have to go back alone now. Come find me when you find food and reinforcements." Lin Nuannuan was worried about him, but she couldn't help if she stayed here. She gritted her teeth. Instead of sitting here and doing nothing, she might as well fight. "All right, I'll go back and get others to save you. You have to wait for me." Sang Yi extended his snake tongue and took down the black gem pendant on his forehead. He gently placed it in Lin Nuannuan's hand. "It's a divine stone my mother left me. Keep it close to you. I can sense your safety through it." Lin Nuannuan took the black gem pendant and hung it around her neck. She held the black gem pendant tightly and said firmly, "I'll definitely be back soon. Be careful. I'll be here waiting for you." Lin Nuannuan left all the remaining food to Sang Yi. She put all the seeds into her fanny pack and walked out of the cave into the snowstorm. Sang Yi watched her leave. He couldn't bear to look away until she completely disappeared into the snow. He was right. Soon, the beasts of the boar tribe managed to find him following the trail. The torches in their hands had long since been blown out by the snow. After finding the python, they immediately dug out the firewood and flint they carried with them. They were prepared to light torches and burn this hateful python to death. However, Sang Yi did not give them the chance. The python suddenly darted out of the cave, opened its bloody mouth, and bit at the wild boar beasts. The wind and snow stung her skin, but Lin Nuannuan refused to stop. She ran in the direction of the rock mountain. The snow was deep. She had fallen several times, and her body was already covered in slush. When the wind blew, it froze her blood. Lin Nuannuan gritted her teeth and got up. She had to go back quickly. Sang Yi was still waiting for her. She continued to stumble along. She didn't know how long she ran, but it was almost dark. The rock mountain was still so far away. Lin Nuannuan was panting heavily. Her frozen limbs were abnormally red from the intense exercise. Her head and shoulders were covered in thick snow. Her body, which had not fully recovered from the illness, finally could not take it anymore. She fell down again. Lin Nuannuan struggled to get up, but her body couldn't muster any strength. She seemed to be unable to move. The wind and snow were still blowing. The snow quickly covered her body. If this continued, she would be buried alive. At that moment, there were shouts in the distance. "Huan, where are you?" Lin Nuannuan immediately looked up. She pricked up her ears and listened carefully. She realized that it was Bai Dai's voice. With the last bit of her strength, she shouted weakly, "I'm here." The sound of the wind quickly drowned her out. She wondered if Bai Dai had heard her. If she didn't hear him, she would be furious at her circumstances. Fortunately, Bai Dai heard her. He quickly rushed to Lin Nuannuan and dug her out of the snow. Bai Dai's heart tightened at the sight of her trembling and weak limbs. He quickly took out the wine he had brought with him and poured 2 mouthfuls into her mouth. The spicy taste surged into her body down her throat, pulling the weak Lin Nuannuan back from the edge of unconsciousness. Her voice was extremely hoarse and weak. "We need to go save someone." Sang Yi was still waiting for someone to save him. Bai Dai hugged her tightly. "Don't say anything yet. We can talk about it when we get back." He carried Lin Nuannuan and rushed back. On the way, they encountered Shuang Yun and the others who had also come down the mountain to look for them. When they heard that Lin Nuannuan had been found, They were very surprised. They hurriedly escorted her back to the rock mountain. Lin Nuannuan was sent to the old witch doctor's house. At this moment, Huan had fallen into a coma. She was running a fever, and her body temperature was extremely high. She was still talking though. Save him. Quickly save him. Everyone took it that she was talking nonsense and did not take it to heart. Langju spent a lot of effort and tried many ways to help Lin Nuannuan's fever subside. Due to the effects of the medicine, Lin Nuannuan was still unconscious. Baidi carefully carried her home. Xuangyun followed her in. He stared at her without blinking, his eyes full of fatigue. The two of them stood by the bed for a long time. When Jiu Yuan arrived, they came back to their senses and reluctantly walked out of the bedroom. Jiu Yuan immediately explained his intentions. Chief, bad news. Yakia and Ma King ran away. Xuangyun raised his eyebrows, looking very unhappy. What's going on? Didn't I tell you to keep an eye on them? Jiu Yuan quickly explained everything from beginning to end. Xuangyun knew that Yakia and Ma King must have other matters to attend to if they suddenly visited at this time. Just in case, Xuangyun specially asked someone to keep an eye on the two of them. He should report to him immediately if anything happened. However, Ma King was very cunning. When Xuangyun brought his men down the mountain to find Huan, he ran away with Yakia and more than 50 male beasts. Some of the 50 or so beasts were Leah's mates. After Leah's death, 29 of her mates suffered a backlash from the mate bond. 20 of them didn't make it and died. The remaining 9 male beasts were also injured to varying degrees. Ma King took them all away. Baidi didn't care about what happened between the wolves, and he rarely interfered in their internal decisions. But this time, after listening to Jiu Yuan's account, he frowned. That Ma King is not simple. If we let him go just like that, we'll undoubtedly be letting the tiger return to its den. There will be endless trouble. Jiu Yuan echoed. We've cleaned up Li Wei's body, but her male mates must know that she's been killed. When they go back, they'll definitely think of ways to take revenge on us. We have to be wary. Xuangyun thought for a moment and quickly made a decision. He would strike first. I'll bring people to chase after Ma King and the others. We have to kill them before they return to the Black River Wolf tribe. Chapter 44. Revenge. There were more than 50 beasts with Ma King and Yakia, but Ma King was not an easy person to deal with. Since he dared to bring so few people over to the Rock Mountain, he must have had a backup plan. To be safe, Xuangyun specially brought more people down the mountain this time. He had taken away nearly 200 of the 300 members of the Rock Wolf tribe. Even if they were ambushed on the way, this number was enough for them to escape unscathed. After Xuangyun left, the entire Rock Mountain became much quieter. Lin Nuannuan slept for 2 days and finally woke up on the 3rd day. The first thing she did when she woke up was grab Baidai's hand and say anxiously, "Go and save Sangyi. He's injured and needs treatment." Baidi took her in his arms and stroked her back to calm her down. When she calmed down a little, he asked slowly, "Who is Sangyi?" "He's a python. He was badly injured trying to save me. He told me to come back first, then find others to save him. You have to save him." Baidi kept his expression neutral. "You seem concerned about him?" Although Lin Nuannuan was awake, her head was still groggy. She didn't hear the probing meaning in Baidai's words at all. She said anxiously, "He got injured because of me. I have to save him. Please help me." Baidi lowered his head and kissed her forehead, his gaze gentle and weary. "You can tell me what you want me to do, as long as it's within my capability. I'll do it for you." As long as she didn't leave him again. In the few days she was missing, Baidi had experienced a sense of loss and helplessness he had never experienced before. He didn't even want to think about how he would survive if she died. He had no choice but to look for her. He didn't eat or drink. He didn't sleep either. Fortunately, he was lucky enough to finally find her. Lin Nuannuan seemed to sense his uneasiness and reached out to hug him. His embrace was as warm and generous as ever, as if he was holding up her world for her. The cold wind and snow seemed to be isolated from the world. She leaned into his embrace. "Thank you," she whispered. Lin Nuannuan wanted to go down the mountain with Baidi. but she was still sick and very weak. Neither Bai Di nor Lang Zhu approved of her dragging her sick body down the mountain. Helpless, she could only give up the idea of going down the mountain herself. Sang Yi did not know Bai Di. In order to prevent Sang Yi from treating him as a liar or an enemy, Lin Nuannuan stuffed the black gem pendant that Sang Yi had given her into Bai Di's hand. After you see Sang Yi, show him this pendant and he'll believe that you're my family. Bai Di glanced at the black gem pendant in his hand, his blue eyes continuing to darken. It was actually a high-level black crystal. With such a crystal on him, it seemed that Sang Yi's background was not simple. Bai Di thought deeply about it, but he kept a gentle smile on his face. He put away the black gem pendant and promised, "Don't worry, I'll definitely help you bring him back." Lin Nuannuan dragged her sickly body and sent him out of the house. She wanted to send him down the mountain, but he refused. When Bai Di walked to the entrance of the cave, he saw Jin Yuan standing there with 20 beasts. They were all carrying bags and looked ready to go on a long trip. "What are you doing?" Ji Yuan said steadily. "The old witch doctor asked us to come. It's not safe for you to go down the mountain alone. We'll accompany you so that we can take care of each other on the way." Bai Di smiled. "Thank you. Huan has become mates with our clan leader. You're also Huan's mate. In the future, we'll have to stay in the Rock Wolf tribe and live together. We're family. It's only right for us to take care of each other." Bai Di was touched. Previously, he had only treated the Rock Mountain as a temporary foothold. Once winter passed, he would leave slowly. Cats were not like canines. Big cats tended to live alone rather than in groups. But at this moment, the Rock Wolf tribe's initiative to help mate Bai Di finally feel a sense of belonging here. With such a group of loyal clansmen, it didn't feel bad to stay here in the future. Lin Nuannuan's body had yet to recover, so she had to recuperate at home. Mu Sheng had nothing to do, so she came to visit her with a big belly. Mu Zhang's stomach was already very big and looked round. She smiled and said, "This child was conceived early. The old witch doctor said that he might be born early before spring." Lin Nuannuan couldn't help but touch her belly. It felt warm and very comfortable. She was a little envious. "It'll be a healthy, cute baby." Mu Sheng pursed her lips and smiled. "You and Patriarch Shuang Yan have to work hard too. Try to get pregnant this winter. When spring comes, you'll have a cute baby." Lin Nuannuan couldn't help but blush. Mu Sheng had a good impression of Shuang Yan and Bai Di, but Shuang Yan was their leader. After all, she would definitely prefer for Huan's first child to be Shuang Yan's, so she said a lot of good things about Shuang Yan to Huan. Lin Nuannuan was amused. Mu Sheng only stopped talking when Lang Zhu walked in with the freshly squeezed medicine. The medicine made by the old witch doctor was still frighteningly bitter. Lin Nuannuan pinched her nose and poured the medicine into her mouth. She hurriedly stuffed 2 sweet fruits into her mouth to barely suppress the bitterness in her mouth. Lang Zhu said to her, "We're all worried about you staying alone at home now. Do you want to stay at my house for the time being? I'm an old man anyway. I won't have any thoughts about you. You can live at my place without worry." Lin Nuannuan shook her head slowly. "I want to stay at home." She felt secure in this place. She had been staying with Bai Di and Shuang Yan. Lang Zhu didn't force her. "That works too. I'll visit you every day. Take good care of yourself and don't run around, otherwise you'll get a new illness before you recover." Mu Sheng laughed loudly. "I want to play with Huan every day too." Lin Nuannuan looked at her big belly and was a little worried. "Will it be bad for the fetus if you run around like this?" Mu Sheng waved her hand. "It's fine. I'm very strong. It's fine to walk a few more steps." Lang Zhu also said, "It's good for the baby and the mother to walk more when they're pregnant." Hearing their words, Lin Nuannuan was relieved. In the next few days, Lang Zhu and Mu Sheng would visit Huan every day. Her illness was gradually improving. She often went to the cellar to bring out homemade pickles and jam to entertain them. Although Lang Zhu was old, he was still a pure carnivore. He didn't like to eat these things. Only Mu Sheng, who was also a female, liked the jam and pickles very much. She sometimes brought the jam she made and compared it to the jam Nuannuan made. The relationship between the two females was getting better. At this moment, a group of vicious beasts suddenly rushed up the rock mountain and barged into the territory of the Rock Wolf tribe. They were all from the Black River Wolf tribe, and their leader was Yakia. They were here for revenge. At the same time, they were here to plunder territory and food. They were like wolves and tigers. They rushed into the cave with murderous auras and wantonly burned, killed, and plundered. Chapter 45. Regret. Lin Nuannuan was sleeping soundly when she was suddenly woken up by the noise outside. She quickly got dressed and got out of bed. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Lang Ju running toward her house with several females. Mu Sheng was among them. Behind them were many male beasts covered in blood. They were all mates of these females. What happened? Lin Nuannuan looked at them in surprise. Lang Ju was very anxious. Let's go in first. The group walked into the house. The originally spacious house was immediately filled up. Lang Ju's snow-white beard was stained with bright red blood. His wrinkled face was tense. It was obvious that he was very solemn and anxious. The beasts of the Black River Wolf tribe are coming up the mountain. Hurry up and hide with Mu Shang. Lin Nuannuan was shocked. How did this happen? A male beast raised his hand to wipe the blood off his face and said angrily, "The beasts of the Black River Wolf tribe have long been eyeing the rock mountain. Previously, their witch doctor brought Yakia to our tribe to scout the way. He regretted it. If he had known that Ma King and Yakia were spies, he would have killed them the moment they entered the rock mountain." Lin Nuannuan couldn't help but ask, "Are there many people from the other party? What are our chances of winning?" Lang Ju said in a low voice, "Shuang Yun is not here now, and all the males in the tribe have been taken away. There are only more than 70 beasts left on the rock mountain, and more than a dozen of them are females who can't fight at all. However, there are nearly 200 of them, and they all came prepared. We have no chance of winning." Upon hearing this, Lin Nuannuan's expression immediately turned ugly. She fell into deeper thought than the others. If Ma King and Yakia had come to scout the way, it meant that they had made up their minds to annex the Rock Wolf tribe from the beginning. And the chain of events that followed, from Li Wei's deliberate provocation to the eruption of conflict between the two sides, with Shuang Yun killing Li Wei, Ma King, and Yakia escaping, and Shuang Yun leading men to pursue them. They lured their targets out of the mountain and created a diversion. One after another, everything connected seamlessly. Such meticulous planning was terrifying. Lin Nuannuan had previously thought that these primitive beasts were a group of rough people who ate raw meat and drank blood. Their nature was simple and straightforward. Now, it seemed that she had underestimated them. Unexpectedly, there were some extremely shrewd beasts among them. Lin Nuannuan couldn't help but worry. If this was all planned by the other party, then were Shuang Yun and Bai Di in danger. But before she could think about it, Lang Ju had already pushed her and the females into the kitchen. Lang Ju looked at Lin Nuannuan very seriously. "Hurry up and hide with the females. No matter what happens outside, don't come out." They had gone through a lot of trouble to save these females. They were all pregnant, so nothing could happen to them. Lin Nuannuan quickly asked, "What about you guys?" Lang Ju smiled, a hint of freedom in his despair. "We'll help you guard the door." Lin Nuannuan grabbed his hand tightly. "No, you'll be killed by them. Run with us." The males of the Rock Wolf tribe only consist of heroes willing to die in battle. There are no cowards who escape. Besides, protecting females is every male's duty. Lang Ju forced her fingers apart and pushed her a few more steps into the house. The females were in a bad state. Their clothes were a mess, and their faces were covered in tears. Their eyes were filled with fear and unease. Especially Mu Shang. Her face was as pale as paper. She could barely stand. Lin Nuannuan quickly held Mu Shang and looked at Shin Han and Lang Ju at the same time, trying to persuade them to hide together. But before she could speak, she heard a flurry of footsteps rapidly approaching. Everyone's expressions changed. "They're here." The male beasts' eyes were ferocious as they turned around and rushed out the door to stop the enemies who were trying to barge in. Lang Ju handed the wolf fang necklace around his neck to Lin Nuannuan. After I die, hand this to Shuang Yun and let him avenge us." Then, he closed the kitchen door, transformed into a wolf, and resolutely turned to charge at the enemy. "Come on, you scumbag. I'll show you the power of the Rock Wolf tribe today." Behind the door, Lin Nuannuan was already in tears. The battle cries outside were deafening. The voices of the beasts and Lang Zhu were quickly drowned out until they were gone. The thin door could not stop those ferocious beasts at all. Lin Nuannuan suppressed her sadness and forced herself to be energetic. She said to the females, "Come with me." Below the kitchen was the cellar. Very few people knew about this place. Other than her, Bai Di, and Shuang Yun, only Lang Zhu and Mu Shang, who often came to their house as guests, knew. This was also why Lang Zhu had specially brought Mu Shang to look for Lin Nuannuan. This was because her family was the only one in the entire Rock Wolf tribe that had a cellar. The cellar was well hidden, and there was enough food in it to make it perfect for hiding. Lin Nuannuan slowly pulled open the floor and let the females crawl in first. She was the last to enter the cellar. She carefully covered the floor and found sticks to hold it from the other side. Mu Zhang's body was exhausted. She sat on the ground with her back against the rock wall. Her face was pale, and she was sweating profusely. Lin Nuannuan felt that something was wrong with her. She suspected that Mu Shang was injured, so she carefully checked her body for wounds. In the end, she accidentally found mucus flowing out of her lower body. Mu Shang was going to give birth prematurely. She did not expect Mu Shang to give birth at this juncture. This was too dangerous. The females were all frightened and restless. Lin Nuannuan gestured for them to calm down. This was not the time to panic. At that moment, they heard footsteps. There were a lot of people coming into the kitchen. They were walking around as if looking for something. The cellar was not high. As long as Lin Nuannuan stood up straight, she could touch the ceiling. The footsteps above her seemed to be in her ears, and she could hear them exceptionally clearly. She even heard the conversation of the people above. "I've searched everywhere. There's no one in this house. Impossible. That little female lives in this house. She must still be in this house. Even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground, I have to have her." It was Yakiwa's voice. The females all covered their mouths tightly and froze on the spot, afraid that they would make a sound that would alarm the people above. They knew very well that if they were discovered, they would definitely end up in a terrible state.